Alex Gluz here. I'm the host of Revenue Engine podcast, where I talk with top leaders in business, marketing, sales, tech, SaaS, and more. We have a great guest for you today. Super excited. This episode is brought to you by Team Monroe Digital. At Team Monroe, we build world-class revenue engines for B2B SaaS and tech companies. Tara, what that means is we do everything behind the scenes to generate you tons of qualified leads, opportunities, and customers. We build highly effective marketing systems and scale them profitably through our demand generation strategies. We think scientifically on how to scale your demand and revenue. We bring decades of experience and expertise. Email me at alex@teammonroe.com or visit teammonroe.com today to schedule a strategy session or learn more about our mission. We have a great guest for you today. Hey, Tara, nice to have you here.
Hi, so nice to be here.
Yeah, super excited to kick off. Can you do a brief intro of who you are and what you do?
Sure, yeah. My name is Tara Clever. I am the Chief Revenue Officer at a company called MarginEdge. MarginEdge is a vertical SaaS company, and we serve the dynamic, amazing, always entertaining vertical of restaurant operators. What's really cool about our company too, and one of the things I like to mention when I talk about it, is that a huge footprint of our team comes from the space. They are all former owners, operators, chefs, GMs of restaurants, which means I get to work around a lot of tattoos and a lot of cuss words and a lot of incredibly hardworking people who really understand the complex nature of running a restaurant. So to get to be enabling some of that complexity with technology, I feel very, very lucky.
When we chatted before the interview, you said that a lot of your background is in D2C, not in B2B before you started, this role. And which role did you break early that turned out to be the right call, meaning using some of your D2C knowledge and expertise in B2B?
Yeah, it's a great question. I often think about my D2C, direct-to-consumer experience. It has turned into a bit of a superpower in the B2B space in a way that I certainly could not have articulated when I started at MarginEdge. And in many ways, it made me a very unlikely hire for this role 6 years ago. I think the first rule, to kind of use your framing here, one of the first rules I broke, I don't think I knew I was breaking. I make the joke that because my background is direct to consumer and my sales counterpart's background was in restaurants, we didn't know we were supposed to hate each other. Sales and marketing conflict is pretty universal, I think, in B2B, but in D2C, marketing is sales, where the marketing only quote unquote works if it turns into revenue, and all of the things around that machine support the outcome of putting an ad in front of a customer and hoping that they take action that results in revenue outcomes. So when I started at MarginEdge, it was totally intuitive to me that I would think about marketing that way. But because sales, that part of that funnel, lived outside of my organization, the first thing I did was go to our head of sales and put my arms into his arms and say, you are now my best friend. My job is to make your team successful. You are the way that we build revenue. I am here to drive high quality pipeline to you. I couldn't have used those words at the time, if I'm being honest, but I know what I mean. And that really was the sales and marketing alignment, is something that I think has been a key ingredient to the pretty incredible growth we've had at MarginEdge, and certainly my story within that organization. And so much of that credit goes to Bob McKay, who sat at the helm of our sales org the entire tenure I've been at MarginEdge. And so much of that has been a D2C instinct that has resulted in really significant B2B outcomes, is thinking about those two things as not separate, but together. And it's easy to say and harder to do, but has a lot to do with pipeline and revenue fluency and agreement on what those numbers mean and how we're measuring success.
So DTC is all about fast feedback loops. How do you emulate that with B2B, an industry known for longer sales cycles and decision cycles, which kind of goes hand to hand.
Yeah. Well, I will say that we have a little bit of a cheat code. Well, it's not even a cheat code. We cheat a little at MarginEdge because our ACV is low enough and our sales cycle is short enough that a lot of those feedback loops that you would use in a D2C purchase actually have more overlap with us than if you were in a 6 to 12 to 20 month sales cycle and hundreds of thousands of dollars in contract value. But I do actually think even if you have a longer sales cycle, and even if that is true, there are still some guiding principles that I think are relevant. One is I am maybe the nosiest person on our team. I am super nosy. I love to listen to gong calls. I love to read Salesforce opportunities. I love to hear our customers' voices. I like to hear what sales reps are hearing. I go to trade shows. I talk to customers. And I think that when you're thinking about feedback loop as a leader in revenue, whether you're sitting in a sales seat or a marketing seat or anything in between, one of the things that is a risk is to not stay super close to your customer. If you're in a high growth environment like ours, it's even more important because the profile of your customer changes, the size of your customer base changes, your market changes, and all of that's happening underfoot, that if you're not obsessing over those details, that's incredibly important. But your question was about feedback loops. And so one is the first part of that feedback loop is that you and your team should be incentivized and accountable for listening to your customer, whether that is calls or whether that is aggregated information or ride-alongs, whatever it is. And then there needs to be a system in which those insights are fed back into action items. So how are you making sure that that gets into the hands of sales enablement, your product marketers, the product team in terms of feature adoption? If we are all obsessed with it, and then we all have organized ways of sharing that information, it allows people to be developing systems, processes, approaches, and product around what you are actually hearing from the lived experience of your end user. And I actually think, regardless of sales cycle length, that iterative process and that discipline is one of the most important things that you as a leader or anyone on your team should be spending time doing.
You also talked about building infrastructure that preserves connection. What does that infrastructure actually consist of?
Yeah, so this is maybe my favorite soapbox. So if I get on it and you have to knock me off because we have other questions, let me know. But I have always believed in my career, but it is particularly highlighted at MarginEdge that the ability to make a customer feel heard, seen, recognized, supported, acknowledged is an incredibly powerful tool. And it is often considered fluffy or unnecessary, or people don't know how to do it. And so from the very beginning, we knew that our customers, the social currency a restaurant uses is hospitality and service. If you walk into a bar and the bartender looks at you and is like, "Hey, good to see you, Alex. Great to see you again. Here's the Bud Light you order every time." That costs that bartender nothing. It makes you feel heard. It makes you feel seen. It makes you feel recognized. And as humans, that's an incredibly important part of how we make decisions, right? Some of it is conscious, some of it is unconscious, subconscious, but it is all about building connection. So at MarginEdge, kind of knowing this, we have a surprise and delight program where anybody in our organization can nominate any customer or prospect or anybody for any reason, and we find ways to send them something that feels personal and special. And it is maybe my proudest, it is one of the things I'm proudest of at MarginEdge. And all of that is true, has been true, always has been true. I think that's just human nature and ways that you can find to make your customers feel recognized as an individual, whether you're selling enterprise, giant contracts, or you're doing more transactional, slower or faster contracts with more people. I think it matters the same. What I will say, and this is where the soapbox comes in, I really believe that the AI acceleration, the fact that people are sprinting at mass communications, mass personalization, which is just like, doesn't feel like those two words should exist side by side. The idea that you can do more with less, and it's all automated, and it's appended with intent data, and you don't need SDRs because we've got robots making calls. And I think all of that there will be some of that ends up being lasting best practice. I think we're right now in the frothy newness of it all, and I'm not sure exactly where the dust is going to settle. But regardless, I believe that there is going to be value for organizations around building infrastructure on human connection. It's not fluffy. It's not optional. It's not feel good. It is one of the ways that you are going to, what I have coined proof of human. I am a human being. I am a person who has lived a life. Many of those experiences overlap with your experiences. Many of them do not. You as an individual buyer are going to want to feel seen and heard by another human being.
You mentioned something interesting. You said product, message, and then sales cycle should all adopt from those loops. Which one usually lags?
Well, I think that this is super interesting, because if you had asked me this question a year ago, I would have said the three between sales, marketing, and product that has the longest lead time is product, right? It takes time to develop new products. It takes time to build a development roadmap. It takes time to make those investments. What's super interesting is that the AI enhancements, particularly on product development, at least in our experience, has allowed for such an acceleration of product development and shipment of new products that is actually causing us to have to shift our go-to-market posture to make sure that we are not missing the opportunity to deliver the amazing things our product team is shipping in a way that our customers really can learn about it, appreciate it, and adopt it. And so there has been this shift. I still think it's product. I mean, I still think the development time and lead time and planning and resource allocation for big product-driven changes is the thing that often has to be planned ahead and misses some of the agility that you might have on sales and marketing. But more and more, I think that go-to-market leaders need to be thinking about the acceleration of product development and how that impacts the way they're thinking about go-to-market priorities, because it's not one feature a year anymore. It could be 4 features a year. And how does that fit into your roadmap? How does that fit into your communication? And so even though I would still say it's product that lags, I think that whole ecosystem is shifting under our feet.
If you had to bet on one growth lever in 2026, what is it?
So it goes back to what we were talking about the speed of product. And this is maybe biased by the fact that this feels like what we're going through at MarginEdge, but I think it is universally understood now that the absolute insane efficiency that AI has enabled in product development, and the idea that you can now deliver what customers want faster than ever is an incredibly powerful lever. The idea of being able to take those features or those products or any of that and mobilize it into a go-to-market strategy feels incredibly powerful. And it also, if you're doing that in a way that is aligned with what your customers really want and need, it's also an opportunity to build a moat around yourself where everybody's sprinting. And it is a little bit of a new normal where people have access to information they didn't before and can build faster than they ever did before. And so how can you think about the efficiency gained in product development as a go-to-market leverage, both not only in what we're offering to customers and the revenue upside of that, but also in terms of retention, when I think in no matter what world you're sitting in, there are going to be winners and losers on the other side of this evolution happening in technology right now. And so how do you make sure you're on the winning side of that by keeping pace, keeping close to customers, and making sure you have a go-to-market motion to fully leverage the outputs that are coming from product in a way that a year ago or 2 years ago would have looked completely different.